Hi, welcome to week 8 and prompt 8 is souvenir, and I'm not looking forward to it. It just wasn't that interesting. Like, souvenir, for those who don't know, it's a French word that translates into memory. I just couldn't think of anything even mildly interesting to draw from this prompt. But I thought I better embrace the prompt and start sketching things that are usually considered souvenirs, like keyrings and snow globes, and I guess when you take a photo on a holiday, they become souvenirs. I made a quick drawing of a couple in a photo, and I guess you could make it interesting by sketching in their luggage piled up at their feet with like tags and everything on it, or something going on in the background, but I wasn't really feeling it, so I skipped it. I continued my thought process of what a souvenir might be and how someone could design and market them to be gifts that someone might actually like. I know there's loads of jewellery items as souvenirs, but they aren't always nice. I reckon watercolour prints with like a clear enamel glaze over them would look so good as things like a keyring or a bracelet or even a locket. I realised I was spending too much time on these sketches and wasn't really coming up with anything new, so I just jumped into designing some hopefully not tacky souvenirs. I started sketching and decided on having each piece encased in a circle, and when I started drawing I realised that it was too hard to try and sketch inside a pre-existing ring, and it was better to sketch out a larger scene and crop in a circle onto that. I didn't really put much effort into deciding what countries I wanted to put into my souvenirs. I just picked the first thing that came to mind, which turned out rather well because I chose an ancient landmark, St. Basil's Cathedral, a scene in the jungle which was the Great Wall of China, and a modern cityscape, New York. And by chance they just seemed to fit really well together. I stopped at 3 paintings. Any more in this video would just start to get too long. So moving forward to colour, I obviously didn't need to do much because I'm using reference photos for each piece. I started with the St. Basil's Cathedral, and I loved the colours. Their use of colour is so pleasing to look at and everything just flows together so perfectly. I used masking fluid on the crosses of each of the onion domes, which are the 5 pointed balls, and some random other parts that I wanted to keep white. Some of the patterns on the domes aren't exactly like the original. I kind of lost focus while doing them and they went off slightly. But we're not looking for perfection here. Unless photorealism is your passion, you don't really need to make every detail perfect. Next up is New York. There isn't really much to say about this one. I saw the Empire State Building and thought it would go well with the cathedral and the theme I was looking for. And the evening sky in the background of this one sort of softens the whole illustration, which I like. My first thought for New York was the Statue of Liberty, but I didn't really want to do the statue because I wanted to keep it simple and stick with buildings and landscapes. I also put a silhouette of a pigeon at the end of the name, trying to represent the big city with all the ratty pigeons that come with it, but I immediately regretted it. It didn't turn out very good and it looks awful. The last souvenir was the Great Wall of China. I have a bit of trouble when I'm doing natural landscapes. I get to a point in the painting and I don't know how to take it any further, and it ends up looking flat and washed out. I don't know how to fix this other than practice, but I so want to be able to paint landscapes. I've tried so many times, but it's just something I have trouble picking up. So with this one I went in with greens a lot darker than I usually would because I wanted to break out of this rut that I'm in of not making my colours dark enough, and they end up, like I said, very light and washed out. This made it easier for me to understand and add depth to the painting as it went further into the background. It turned out okay, but it's not my favourite of the 3. I considered doing line work on this one, but I was a little worried it may not suit the style because it would show too much detail in the walls in the background, and that would ruin the depth of the painting. So instead I went in with dark brown paint and did some line work just to show where things stop and start. And by adding some deeper shadows in the foreground trees, I was pretty much done with this. I think my favourite part of this one is the mountains way in the background. Oh, and if you watched my video from last week, I have to apologise. I don't know what happened, but it sounds like I'm talking through a pipe into an air conditioner under a truck that's in top gear. It sounds awful. I don't know what happened, but it's awful. I was going to delete it and redo it, but I thought, nah, I'll just leave it as a reminder for the future to see how far I've come. Because posting on social media is a great way to see all your progress in one spot, from when you first started posting to now, and sometimes you have to go through some artistic ruts. And sometimes the best way to get out of those ruts is by following a prompt list, or trying a new art medium, or just simply taking a break and listening to some music. So we have a locket of the Empire State Building and another necklace of the St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow, Russia. And lastly, a bracelet of the Great Wall of China. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and keep drawing.